Looking to the left, ladies and gentlemen, the Lynx aircraft, in company with an Apache as top cover, arrives to deploy a small recce force to secure a landing site in readiness for helicopter assault. Smoke on the ground to indicate the position of the landing site. The Lynx pedal turns. All the time the Apache, the crewman, as he moves his head, the gun underneath the nose of that, moving, sweeping the battlefield. And now the rope coming down for fast roping. A good way of getting troops into confined areas is to abseil. And this is being demonstrated here by the Lynx Mark 7 of 847 Naval Air Squadron. Used these techniques in the jungles of Southeast Asia to insert troops through thick rainforest canopy. In fact, it was during the Malayan conflict of 1952 to 1956 that these techniques earned the force the nickname the Junglies. So the Hawks flying through as a show of force. Straight ahead at the horizon we can see the Sea King helicopters from the Commando Helicopter Force. They've been launched from just over the horizon from HMS Ocean, and they're carrying a full complement of Royal Marines. Apache getting back into position on the battlefield. Again, all the time providing that top cover. If he needs to use that awesome 30mm cannon, then he will. There we have it, strafed from the Apache's 30mm cannon, strafing the building. This is to ensure that the rescue troops can be landed safely, they can assault the building and they can prepare for the extraction. The troops will be fast roped out of the helicopters. When the site is more secure, we'll see a different way of inserting troops onto the battlefield. Apache still providing top cover, smoke providing cover for the landing site. Helicopters now nose up, coming into the quick stop. Crewmen in the door, ready with the abseil rope. As the troops are disembarked, the Hawks fly through to provide reassurance and cover to the assaulting forces. Strafing with their cannons, helicopters here are unloading the troops. They have the ability to rapidly build up combat power. And having landed, the assault troops now organise themselves and are quickly ready to move against the enemy, with the Apache helicopter still providing covering fire. Landing site a little bit safer now. Sea Kings will disembark the troops by putting down into the landing site. Marine 1, the Lynx there, providing covering fire by strafing the battlefield, strafing the enemy fort, as the Marines sprint out of the helicopters and establish themselves in those defensive perimeters, defensive positions. Much quicker to insert troops when the helicopters land. Obviously there is a higher risk, which is why we fast rope first and then land on only once the site is safe. Helicopters now lifting. Will transition, get themselves away from the danger zone as quickly as possible, back to HMS Ocean just over the horizon to re-roll, rearm, and come back to insert further assets onto the battlefield. So we just heard the battlefield commander on the radio, selected, and goes for a strafe. And not happy with that, a bomb as well. So it looks like the hostages, and we can see lining up behind them to bolster the friendly forces on the battlefield are the other Sea Kings. who are coming in with their loads. Real firefight developing down there. Still, of course, have the Apache providing that top cover, making sure that anybody pops their head up will regret it. So Marines now that were left, running back to join the main force. And we have some loads being delivered. We have a short wheelbase Land Rover. We have a trailer for the Land Rover. And we think we've got a 103mm gun being delivered as well. You can see, ladies and gentlemen, how versatile these are. In fact, the Commando Helicopter Force, when deployed in Afghanistan, a large amount of their work is bringing heavy equipment to the battlefield, to the forward operating bases. They bring not only battlefield equipment, but also pallets of water, because operating in very, very high temperatures, it's obviously very important to keep all of the personnel hydrated. The crucial role that these crews perform on a day-to-day basis. So the strops are off, helicopters are free to leave the danger area, leave the landing site. And again, they will return to the carrier to re-roll. They can either reload with troops, or they can reload with more heavy equipment. So there we are, but look, ladies and gentlemen, the enemy forces are now trying to escape using vehicles. But here comes the link from the right to stop the vehicles escaping. See links coming in to your right, ladies and gentlemen, and the Apache flying up behind to cut off any retreat. And the vehicle interdiction technique that you're about to see is used to stop vehicles as demonstrated here. It's been used successfully in theatres such as Iraq and Afghanistan. So helicopter comes to a quick stop. M3M machine gun in the door there, used to persuade, shall we say, the enemy forces to stop. Apache attack helicopter coming round into position behind so they can't retreat. And if they choose to reverse, then the links can fly sideways and make sure that they are always in range of that M3M machine gun in the door. Went down as part of the task force and did fly, so we have a genuine Falklands veteran aircraft flying in the display. So more fast roping. Of course, once the troops are on the ground, when they're deployed for real, one of the things they check for first of all is booby traps, IEDs, any threats that were not perceived from the air. And this again gives the helicopter crew more versatility. They're not down, they are still airborne, they can get out very quickly. The Marines moving away from the helicopters. Of course, if the helicopter has an engine failure whilst it's in the hover, it has to land straight down. So the Marines now forming that defensive circle, defensive perimeter, getting themselves sorted, popping smoke, throwing the smoke grenades to cover what they're doing from the enemy's eyes. Helicopters transitioning into forward flight. Crewmen in the doors just making sure the ropes are correct, feeding information onto the flight deck. Of course, the helicopters you see here. Is target. Full tally target in. Signal 1, tally target in. Signal 1, cleared off. And look at that, ladies and worth saying while we watch this, ladies and gentlemen, that we have troops on the ground from 40 Commando Royal Marines and also from the Armoured Support Group. From the Commando Helicopter Force, 845 Squadron, 846 Squadron are currently in Afghanistan, and 847 Squadron will be deploying soon. Here we see 845, 846 and 848. So these guys on a rotation, and as I say, everybody you see out there has served at least one tour in Afghanistan recently. So as the casualties are loaded aboard those helicopters, and you can see the Marines protecting the helicopters as they take off, we're expecting a final strike in to finish off the enemy from the Hawks. That's just been called in. Casualties now being worked on by surgical teams in the back of the helicopters, each helicopter contained, and then coming down the hill to drop the final bombs. And there we are, finally the enemy have been defeated. On the left and from the right, Sea Kings coming in from the Commando Helicopter Force. And they will stop. They will turn, they will put their nose lights on, and when they're turning and facing you, ladies and gentlemen, go crazy, give them big waves, big smiles. They're working very hard in those cockpits, especially the guys facing downwind. Awful lot to think about, operating these helicopters like this even today, but imagine doing it at night, in low visibility, under operational conditions.